finally Friday. It's Friday, Friday.
Thank God it's
Welcome back to the Friday Show, presented this week by MyRacehorse.com. Find out shortly how you can get in at the highest levels of the sport for the lowest possible price point. I'm Scott Jagow along with Ray Paulick. Ray, let's start with the proposed rules in California for use of the whip in races. Now, the current system is you can use your whip unlimited number of times in a race, but only 3 times consecutively before you wait for a response. The new rules are you can only use the whip 6 times in a race, underhanded, and only twice in a row before a response. What do you make of the change?
I'm not sure who they're trying to appease here. There's 20% of the population that probably wants racing to go away. In fact, there was a survey done by the Thoroughbred Safety Coalition that sort of looked at the general public's opinion of horse racing. And my understanding is that the 20% would like to see racing go away or just doesn't like racing. 20% thinks everything is fine the way it is, and 60% in the middle thinks that the sport needs some reform for it to continue. So, I would hope they're trying to appease the 60%. The horse players we have don't like the new rules. The people who don't like racing aren't going to care what regulatory agencies do with whip rules. But it's the 60% in the middle that really count, I think. And I don't know that this really goes far enough. You're still going to see jockeys hitting horses down the stretch in California. And this is only one state. So, what are they going to, what's the industry doing across all the other racing states?
Yeah, I mean, if you watch races at Woodbine these days, they've changed the rules in Ontario, and it's underhanded whipping only. You can't cock your arm. And the races do look different. I will admit that a little bit. But then I also see jockeys kind of crossing the line that they're not supposed to cross. And it creates confusion, I think, with the bettors and the jockeys themselves. And I equate this to what we talked about last week with Lasix. What Kentucky is doing, getting rid of it for 2-year-old racing and stakes races, but not getting rid of race day medication altogether. So it's kind of a half measure, 3/4 measure. I see this the same way in that trainers, they swear they got to have their Lasix. I believe that it's a crutch for them. It's become that over the decades. And I believe that for jockeys, they believe wholeheartedly that they need to have a riding crop for safety reasons. And I guess I don't blame them, but I do believe it's also a crutch. When you're going 40 miles an hour on a horse, I would want to have everything possible to protect myself. I think it might be a fallacy that they believe that. And a half measure like this, I think the end game is still the whip is going to go away at some point.
Probably eventually, either the whip will go away or racing will go away. I think that, I think down the road, same with drugs. And the public is not going to stand for it if the industry does not make meaningful reform. I'm not sure this is really that meaningful. This is kicking the can down the road.
Yeah, and the number 6, I mean, it seems arbitrary to me. Why did they pick 6? And then the 2 in a row, I understand that. That's kind of along the lines of what we've seen in other countries. But to your point about other states, when they're riding in California, they have to adhere to this rule. Then they go to another state, and there's a whole different set of rules. And the horse players have to know the difference between the rules because, they watch races, and if they don't see the whip being used, they feel like the riders aren't trying hard enough, which is ridiculous. And we've heard Dr. Rick Arthur, the equine medical director in California, say it's nonsense to say that the whip doesn't hurt these horses. It's just not true.
The horse players don't like the new rules, the ones I've talked to at least. But Joe Gorachek, the former Indiana executive director of the Racing Commission there, wrote a piece in his blog. And basically he's saying that if you don't just take the whip away, these problems are going to be around as long as you're trying to massage the rules and you can only hit them so many times and do this and this. There's enough people out there, especially former jockeys. For some reason, former jockeys feel a lot different about whip rules than present day jockeys. But the ones that I've talked to say either don't carry it at all, or just carry it for safety, for when horses are lugging in or out, and that's it. And I don't know. I just feel like these we're going to restrict the use of it. It just doesn't go far enough.
Well, let's ask the question to you. What do you think? We have a poll on our website, paulickreport.com. Do you think these measures are proper, correct, or do they go far enough or not far enough? So let us know your thoughts at paulickreport.com. All right, Ray, let's move on and talk to about another development that's happened in recent days, and that is the Pegasus World Cup. We haven't heard a lot about that until recently, and they've changed the purse to $3 million. It's no more about putting in, the owners don't have to put in money. So it's back to kind of being, or it's being changed to just kind of a regular race. What do you make of it?
I think the original format was going to be very difficult to sustain. The first year, there was a lot of excitement about it. There was less so in the two subsequent years. But the real nail in the coffin here was the Saudi Cup. When a country that has unlimited resources says, we're going to have a race and offer $20 million in purses, you're going to attract a lot of, and you don't have to put anything up, and we'll fly you here, and we'll put you up in a nice hotel. You're going to have a hard time convincing some people that they should put up $1 million to run for a few $1 million when they can put up nothing and run for $20 million. And that's what happened. And apparently Maximum Security, who was originally going to go to the Pegasus, is now possibly going to Saudi Arabia.
We've had some star power at the Pegasus World Cup. We've had your California Chrome in there, Arrogate, Gunrunner. The top horses have gone into that race. Now, are we going to see that because the purse is being, only $3 million? I don't know. It's a good question. Maximum Security's connections are talking about going to that Saudi Cup. Now, the one thing about the Pegasus, there's no medication, so that is a new thing. And then the Saudi Cup, also no medication, as far as we understand or we know. We don't know much about Saudi Arabian racing, and we've really never covered it. I don't know how strict they'll be, enforcement and all that. But certainly the connections of other horses are also talking about going in that race from the U.S. because it's $20 million. Case closed.
Yeah, but I have to kind of laugh when you say the Pegasus is only $3 million. Only.
Yeah.
It's a $3 million horse race. Do you know how many races are worth more than that, where you don't have to put any money up to enter and nominate and that sort of thing? $3 million is still a lot of money. It can still attract horses that are heading to the breeding shed in February, something that the Saudi Cup is not going to attract. So you can still get horses like Gunrunner, California Chrome, who made their last starts, City of Light last year, made their last starts in the Pegasus World Cup and then went off to the breeding shed.
You make a good point, actually. I did have said that kind of offhandedly about the $3 million. But when you consider flying halfway across the world, going through all the procedures you have to go through on a track you've never run over, versus staying at home, running on a track where you've succeeded before, I'm talking about Maximum Security, in a race that is, I believe, because of the distance at that track, front runners do well. Maximum Security is a front runner. It's kind of like bird in the hand. I think their connections might be making a mistake by chasing that bigger purse.
It's a long way to go if you don't win. That's the one thing. And like you said, Gulfstream Park has been very good to Maximum Security. He's undefeated there. If I were Gary West, I would say, this might not be such a bad idea. $3 million purse. What's that? $1.8 million maybe to the winner. It's not bad money.
All right. Let's talk about myracehorse.com, Ray. It's the holiday season's here, and I didn't really think about this when we talked about it last week, but this is a really cool gift to give somebody. I mean, you can get in a share of a racehorse at $65, and there's no more costs. No stabling, no feeding. It's just the money you put in, the investment, starting at $65 a share. Not a bad idea for the holidays.
Yeah, I mean, forget about the fruitcake and the cheesy Christmas sweaters and all that. If you've got friends, get them involved in racing, friends or family. a share in a racehorse for $65, and you get to watch that horse run. And there's a few of these horses that will come that if they win a Grade One stakes, there will be a huge bonus distributed to all the shareholders, I think $6 million.
And we're talking the highest levels of the sport for your $65 share. We're talking Bob Baffert, Todd Pletcher, Richard Mandela. I mean, there's a horse from Baffert, a 2-year-old named Big Mel by Quality Road, who is in this program. You've also got Pletcher with a horse, a Tappet. So, I mean, this is high-level stuff, high-level breeding. MyRacehorse.com. Find out all the details and maybe get your friends involved in racing. All right, that's going to do it for this edition of the Friday Show. Thanks so much for joining us, and we'll talk to you next time.